Hello and welcome to my room. I'm currently sitting at my roommate's desk, I hope she doesn't mind, and the camera is propped up on a huge Alexander Hamilton biography, a book on political Islam, my lit textbook, a way too thick edition of Romeo and Juliet, and a 1,300-page Brandon Sanderson novel. So without further ado, talking about something completely unrelated, we're talking about me, yet again, because that's all I talk about on this channel. But these are the albums that changed my life in the order that they did. So the first one is Plans by Death Cab for Cutie. I started listening to Death Cab for Cutie actually around freshman and sophomore year of high school. See, I was that hipster kid in middle school who only listened to classical music, and Death Cab for Cutie was one of those bands that kind of got me out of that and got me actually listening to the stuff that everybody else was listening to a certain extent. Plans is one of those albums that has stuck with me for a long time. It never gets old. I can listen to just one song or the whole thing all at once. The second album I want to talk about is called Illuminate, and it's by a band called Lidia, spelled with a Y, not an I. And I know that it's weird that I like a band that has my same name, but it's spelled differently, and that's my excuse. I listened to this album mostly my freshman year of college, some before coming to college. I was very scared. I was very heartbroken at that time. I had no idea what I was doing, and I would listen to this album at least once, sometimes twice or 3 times a day, all the way through in order without stopping. It's pretty angsty, I'll admit, but that was a time when I needed to get that angst out. Yes. The third album that I want to talk about, and this is where things get a little bit more personal, is The Birds Outside Sang by Florist. I started listening to Florist around probably my freshman year of college, but last year when I was abroad, January was when this album came out, and I remember I listened to it for the first time the day after it came out at sunrise from my apartment homestay on the 14th floor. This was like at 6:30 a.m. I was getting ready for school. I was eating breakfast and I was listening to this, watching the sun start to come through the window, and it was just the best. Ugh. I mentioned in my Patagonia video, a bit more seriously, that while I was abroad I struggled to feel what I thought that everybody else was feeling. Like, I felt like I wasn't experiencing things fully, like I wasn't feeling everything that I should have been feeling. And the second time I went to Patagonia was in March. It was with the whole class trip. I just remember one day I was listening to it, watching the sunrise over the mountains in Glacier National Park, and I felt it. Like, I was able to feel what I thought that I was missing, and to finally be able to feel that was the greatest thing. Next album is Lemonade by Beyonce. Holy crap! This was another album that made me feel all the feels that just, whoa. I listened to it and I watched it while it was still on Vimeo. It was on there for about 12 to 24 hours, and I watched it in that time slot. I was so proud of myself. I am not a hardcore Beyonce fan. I don't seek out Beyonce music on a regular basis, but this was something that I knew that I had to hear. I knew that I needed to listen to what she was saying and listen to what all these people were saying and just see. It was truly a spiritual experience. Oh my gosh. Cinematography, the lyricism, the poetry, oh goodness, the poetry. I cried so hard, and I appreciate so much what Beyonce has done with that album, and with the visuals, and with everybody who's worked so hard on that, and I just appreciate it so much. The next one I want to talk about is Carrie and Lowell by Sufjan Stevens. Sufjan I feel so bad about this. Feel all the feels. Again. Like, I've had a feel a year. Like, I need to feel the feels. I started listening to it this past summer on a friend's recommendation, and I just, wow. It's one of those albums that when you're sad, it's sad with you, and when you're really happy, it's really happy with you. I would listen to it when I was sad and just cry and just bawl my eyes out. And then one night I went out with friends and had a really good time, and it was awesome, and I listened to it and I cried like happy tears. It was so weird. And the final album that I want to talk about is one that actually came out last month? I think it was last month. But that is Kindly Now by Keaton Henson. I've been listening to it when I get sad, which is surprisingly often. Towards the end of The Pugilist, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. He repeats over and over, like, don't forget me. And as a writer, that just, it just gets me, like, every time. I try to be worthy of that remembrance and that love, but ultimately, I don't know if that will happen. And that doubt is ultimately a very scary thing. And this album helps me deal with that. That is all that I have. I had to switch memory cards in the middle because I ran out of memory. Hopefully, we'll see you next week with a video maybe about books. Because books are fun. I'll put links to all the artists and all the albums in the description, so you can check them out. Yeah, I have no way of knowing if I have a good taste in music, so please let me know. Hopefully I'll see you next week. See, I didn't disappear for 3 months.